Hey, how we doing? It's Don. We are live, of course. Give me just 1 second here. It's been a monster of a busy day today. I don't know what everybody else is doing, but we weren't planning on sourcing too much. But one of the drawbacks on having pickers is if you don't want to go out to their place, if they got some stuff for you, they may not call you the next time. So unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, I'm forced to still pick when I don't really need to right now. I'm going to show you something I got today, just out of the blue. It was just something odd. And I got a few things from a thrift store I'm going to just show you too. Nothing big. I just want to talk a little bit about the nature of sourcing and, you know, what goes on here. Before we go too far, I was doing some stuff and I did see that Audrey has a question up here. Looks like she may not have a lot of time. Audrey is one of my Patreons as well. Let me get up to the question here. I'll holler at everybody in just a minute here because I think she's rushed on time. What's your experience with movie promo photos? 2 huge binders of 90s movie photo being auctioned on Sunday and I don't know what to do. It depends on what you're talking about of photos. If you're talking like 5x7 small size photos, I personally wouldn't mess with them. If you're talking 8x10s, and if there's something really hot, like a hot movie and you can get them really cheap, they might be worth it. Most of the better stills are going to be older. If they're not necessarily photos, but like 11x14 full colors, those are lobby cards. Those would be worth some possible money depending on what was there again, if they're like title cards and stuff. So if you want to shoot me a photo or something of the auction after the show or something, Audrey, I'll be happy to take a look and see what the listing says on it. That's probably the best bet because one person's opinion of what a movie photo is might be different than mine. I worked at a movie theater here in Toledo area. Used to be called what was it called? Greenwood Mall movie theater for anybody who's in the Toledo, Ohio area. I worked there for a few years and I used to order all the screen material like the stills and stuff from National Screen Service. So, you know, if you need to know anything about movie stuff, I literally worked and delved into it for a long time. And I used to sell a lot of stuff to a place called Rock and Roll Heaven and some other sources that used to buy vintage posters and things like that from us. So, you know, I've got a huge assortment of movie stuff right now, and I've delved into movie stuff for years and years and years. I've got some Showman books there from the 50s right now that I just picked up, a big stack of them for like $25. Maybe when the wife's here, she's going to be on tonight. She's feeling better. Maybe I'll have her grab a few things if anybody's interested in seeing a little bit on the movie aspect of it here too, because I get questions all the time. How do you tell what's real movie stuff versus the just BS stuff that's, you know, fantasy pieces? There's a big difference between the posters that you would get at a, you know, resale shop like GameStop or wherever you might get posters at, and the real ones that are issued by the National Screen Service. So anyway, that's about it with that. Sellbrite, we have not still finished listing. Let me get a drink here. It's been a real long day. We literally got this week so far probably just over 800 listings that we've finished and fixed the actual photos. I've got probably 42 to 4,500 more that we're going to update the photos, or we have something to do with the background. We've taken down off the store that we share like I think 300 or 400 listings that we're getting rid of, and then we've actually listed another, not as many as usual, but we listed like 400 more items this week, which isn't much for us. That's pretty slim because we sell a ton. So, you know, I'm actually below water right now from where we were the week before in amount of listings. Of course, that's not a huge factor or anything. So, I mean, sales are really good. We've just scored quite a bit here on stuff, and for the patrons, they saw a big score they had the other day. Let me just show a couple things here. I went out and looked at some records today, 45s, and I'll usually go at records if they're close by. I wasn't expecting anything, and I never do anymore because most of the records are junk unless I get them from a picker. If I get them from one of my pickers, I usually have a better opportunity to get some better records. I found Jack Montgomery, and I'm sure probably most people don't know who Jack Montgomery is, but I've had 2 or 3 of this one right here before. I knew the name as soon as I saw it. There's usually only one that I run into by him in the first place. I know he has more. This record here, you can look up this right now. It's Dearly Beloved is the actual song that I got this for. You look up the comps for a VG copy right now on eBay. These go for over 200 in just VG, and this is almost NM minus. Once I put this on the cleaner, I'll probably get a good NM minus. I'll take a couple clips. I'm putting $500 on this puppy here. I will take, I'm sure it'll go in the $400 range. That's usually what these go for. And this is better than most. If you can, I don't know how well my cam is going to show this, but if you look at the title of the song and you look at the label, this was printed upside down on the label. So it's an error on top of it. So I'm going to hold firm, and I think I'll get $400 for this. As always, I paid $1 a piece for these records. This is the third one I got this week that's worth around $500. $1 a piece, that's $3. That's $1,500 back once they sell. I'm being optimistic. You can look, this one's gone as high as say $700 or $800. I'm in the mid-range on my price because it's not a promo, but it's an error, so it still has more to it. So if you run into records, I can tell you one thing, 95% or higher of every record you run into at a place is not going to be worth much. Your way to make money on this is to get a skill or to know which ones are good by looking at a lot of them. I don't know any shortcut on records. You could sit there and look them all up, but when you go to a big record hall like I go to where there's 5,000 or 10,000, or sometimes there's a warehouse full of records from a jukebox company. They distribute them. They have big boxes of them. Sometimes there's like 1,000 of the same records sitting in a box. That's literally how I run into records. I'm in the Motor City area, so Detroit, there's a ton of records out there. I mean, it's the heart of what's worth the most, which is soul. Northern soul is what you want for most everything. This Jack Montgomery would be considered a northern soul. It wouldn't have been popular over here. It would have been popular in, say, England. That's usually what the case is on these. I wish I had one to show you how the label's supposed to be, but I did get a couple other ones here. Now, anybody who likes Batman, and I'm sure there's some diehard comic book fans out there, Frank Gorshin. If you know who Frank Gorshin is, he played the Riddler. And one little known fact that most people don't know, he actually sung a song. And I've had this one. This one shows up. This isn't super, super scarce. With the cover it is. And I've never had the cover. Wished I did. I might have kept it if I did. But he sings a song called The Riddler. Now, if you want to hear this song, it's actually him singing. It's him being the Joker. Or the Riddler. I'm sorry, the Joker. The Riddler in here. I know the color's a little off on there, but... And he's singing it. You can hear it on YouTube here as well, too. This is another $30, and this is a pretty easy $30. I priced it optimistically where it would sell quickly. And again, I got $12. I bought 12 records, 12 45s, $12. You know, I'm sure on my values on these. I've done this for a long, long time. I got another real good one here. Now, if you saw my video on cassette tapes, I know, you know, a lot of people may not mess with cassette tapes, but cassette tapes always make me money, always. And I'm not exaggerating. As long as you know what to look for and you're buying the right ones. I got a short little clip coming out in my Patreon about tapes as well for those patrons. But if you know the right ones to look for, and I gave you a real good one, those demos, the local bands, all that stuff sells very well. One other source is records as well. There's local and private press records and demos that were only released locally, you know, a couple hundred copies, just like those tapes. And this is one of them. This is Marrakesh. Now, Marrakesh 7, I think, or Marrakesh 7 is one of the folks that comes on here. It might be similar to them, but this is one of those right here. Now, this is like a power pop, they're called. And it's a psych, it's a garage rock kind of thing. It's late, it's 1980, so it still has that 60s psychedelic sound. I wished I could play some of these for you, because you're never going to get to hear this without, you know, having a copy like this. There's no known, you know, digital copy of it. I burned a copy for me as soon as I got this one, because I've got another one by the same group, and I listened to music in the 80s and went to bars and went to shows and stuff, and I listened to a lot of this stuff. So for me, I collected. I've got a huge, like, I don't know, 20,000 or more MP3s that we've burned or saved from stuff. And I'm a big fan on music. So, you know, a huge assortment of music at our house. So I burn this kind of stuff. But this one here is worth 75 bucks. Again, you can look this one up as well. It's a near mint copy. It's probably the nicest copy that's been around. So again, $1, 75 bucks is conservative. You know, this is just the kind of stuff. Here's a doo-wop, Ernie Mereseka. I'm not sure how this one's pronounced. This one here I took a shot on. The name on it was good. It's a good one. It's doo-wop, 75 bucks. The Delrons, $37.50. Johnny and the Hurricanes. Now, I know most people probably don't know who that is. They're from this area, so I've actually run into Johnny of Johnny and the Hurricanes here. He's a record guy, believe it or not, as well as one of the guitarists I run into. And there's somebody here that was actually in one of the other groups that sets up at the local shows for records, and he actually played in one of these 50s groups. So I'm probably going to see if I can't get this signed. It's worth like 15 bucks max on this one here. I might get it autographed, and then maybe it'll go for another, say, 60 or 70. But that one there, and then just another promo. Now, usually if it's white, it's a promo, and then it'll say not for sale. But I'm not going to spend too much time on records here. Everybody talks about, you know, you can't find this, you can't find that. You're not going to find what everybody else finds in your area, depending on, you know, how your area is. Around here, there's no clothing. So if you want to be successful in this area, say within 100 miles or so of where I live, you have to do more than just clothing. There's no way on earth that I could survive on clothing. We went to 3 different places. Me and the wife, we weren't sourcing, so it was just looking for some stuff. I do some recreations and things, and sometimes we'll buy fabric, you know, clothing, vintage clothing, and then we'll cut it up and use it for stuff. So anyway, that's what we were doing for a craft project. And, you know, I did source a few items here, at least to pay for my gas and our lunch, but I'll show you those in a few minutes here. But I don't have those sources here, so I've had to seek way more different avenues to make money than maybe other people would. You know, and I've got a huge history in retail and in, you know, customer basis and stuff. So I've wheeled and dealed my way into a lot of stuff. I've, you know, a couple of my pickers, you know, I'm their first go-to guy for many items. It didn't used to be that way, but, you know, you gotta know how to wheel and deal with people, I guess is the key on that too. So I've branched out. That's why I do records. I always listen to music. So I said, well, let me look at records, pricing it. I find art supplies. I go to, I don't do much garage sales. I don't do many flea markets too much anymore these days. My pickers this time of year, my phone's going off the hook most of the time. I actually had to turn it off. I even turned the buzzer off because I don't really want it buzzing or anything else. So, you know, this is the time of year when I get a ton of calls, even though I don't need the stuff. But so I don't source at, excuse me, garage sales too much or flea markets that much. We are doing a father-son pick probably this weekend, so I will have a video up on that. But let me just show you this here. Pantyhose was in a video here, and I know that sounds kind of stupid, and, you know, why would you do that? It was free. I got free pantyhose from family members, so, and I threw out an honest number. We started off, I made 50 bucks a month or better on just pantyhose. You know, it was enough to pay a month's worth of rent, you know, at the way we started it. So anyway, from there we took it off. But you can find unused 1970s pantyhose. The same thing. And I talked about vintage stuff. This here I paid $1 for. This is from Goodwill. Same place as the other item I'm going to show you. So for $1, it's going to come back at 30 bucks. It's in there. It's still wrapped up. It's all sealed, you know. These things show up in where they have the oh shoot, what do you want to call it? The patterns, sewing patterns. That's usually where I find these at. I don't know what the deal is, but I find some of these probably one of the most common clothing items that I still mess with. I mess with trucker hats and things like that, you know, ball caps and stuff. And I mess with these still too because they're small. They're not clothing. I don't have to measure anything. I don't have to measure baseball caps. We're dumped all the rest of our clothing. So if you look at our store, you won't find but like 1 or 2 little pieces of clothing here. And I probably have sold all the rest of it to somebody here who's actually a subscriber. I think they're going to buy the rest of it. So we're just getting rid of it, I think, at this point. Again, somebody reached out to me and asked if they, you know, could come out and, you know, what the heck, I took them up on the offer. So anyway, we're done with clothing, as I said. So I can't get it, can't mess with it. I source stuff that most people think's garbage. And that's why I'm successful. Most people don't know it. There's a huge learning curve to get into collectibles. You know, that's what I share with you too. So off track on that, wholesale is a huge area. Wholesale, RA, the whole works. So there's a couple people that I've talked to here in my Patreon as well as here and Facebook, who are going the same route as us now. They've reached out to Amazon. They got all the forms to apply for the collectibles. I gave them some guidance on filling them out and stuff like that too, based on what I got in with. So, other people see the value. At least I can tell you. Clothing in some areas is awesome. I'll have to agree. There are some areas that you can make a ton of money in clothing, but they're fewer and far between, because all these other factors that are attacking clothing. Whether it be people just swamping it for resale or talking about it or showing it or whatever the case may be. There's a ton of people that have to save money, so they might go to thrift stores to buy a new shirt or buy pants or something. I have no problem with buying used clothing personally. I don't care if somebody thinks that's gross. If you're going to sell it, why wouldn't you wear it? That's just me. I wouldn't sell something that I wouldn't at least be somewhat okay with. So, there's some adult material that we don't mess with, but we do sell adult books and things like that, adult magazines. Mostly vintage, 80s. We do Playboy and Penthouse and the typical that most people do. Sell military and all that stuff. But it's taken us a long time to get that way. I show everybody here oddball stuff, just odds and ends that most people don't think about or talk about. And part of the reason is because I don't know what everybody else is selling or can sell. My area is totally different than what you have. I could go to California right now, which I've been talking to somebody from California. The thrift stores are awesome because it's so many people there. It's such a huge area. They can't catch everything. So, there's goods and bads for wherever you're at. For where I'm at, I can run into stuff left and right and find something to sell no matter where I go. Thrift stores are pretty hard these days. I couldn't live on it, but I don't waste my time there. At least I'm making my gas, my lunch, and probably 10 or 15 bucks extra. At the end of the day, we spent enough time. I've been to a trillion thrift stores, and I'm not deafening to even clothing. And I looked at clothing just to see. I wasn't going to buy it, but I looked and see. I always check coats. That's the one thing, because I collect coats. I got a ton of leather coats. It's one of my pet project things is leather coats. So, the only other thing I found was this, and it's a crimper. Now I'm going to show you in some videos coming up soon some art stuff to do with this. This actually, I have one of these. They actually, whoever donated it tried to sell it at their garage sale for $5 would be my guess. Here's Goodwill's $2 sticker on it. It was $1 off, so I only, unfortunately, it's green sticker day. You can't see it, but it says $2. I paid $1 because it was half off that day. So, this thing's $30 all day long. It's brand new. You can look it up right now yourself. It's a paper crimper. All this kind of stuff is what I hunt for more than anything else, because it's stuff I might actually use too. So, I don't know if I'll keep this one or sell it, but for $1, I got a $30+ piece of equipment here. It's a nice one. These things will last. It's got metal pieces to it too. So, one thing I can say, if you're one of those few like me, or one of the many, I should say, at this point, like me, that can't source clothing enough because there's just not enough of it, or you just hate clothing. Again, there's nothing wrong with clothing, and we did clothing for a long time, so I can't complain. It got us started full time, and it at least paid my bills and allowed us to eat, instead of, going downhill from there. But, after school we had nothing, so it saved me. Clothing saved us. So, I can't do it anymore. I hate clothing. It's not around. I can't find it. There's nowhere to get enough bulk to keep a big business going. And, you need hundreds of pieces of clothing these days to get it going. So we branch out. And your best guess and best judgment on what to branch out to is if there's something that you know. Now, I worked in restaurants, so I look into food equipment. I look into restaurant, hotel supply stuff. I worked for Disney for 10+ years. So I've touched so many things. I've done retail for major establishments and, big time retail, $10 million stores I worked in. We did $10 million plus a year in a small facility. So, I know the market, I know the game. So I've got a plus on that. If you've got an area you worked in, or you've done something for a long time, there's a lot of people who've done Hot Wheels. They make money in Hot Wheels. They know it. They know them better than me. I know the old ones, and I know which ones those to look for. Hong Kong and red lines and all that. There's just so many areas that you could make money on. Sports cars. There's people who do sports cars. I see Mike in here. Mike does a lot of radio and vintage tubes and things like that. I sell tubes and stuff, but I'm no expert. I have to look up every one of them, other than a couple of the real giant ones that I've had a few times. Tubes, the size seems to be some difference in that, but you can sell anything and make money. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Anything can make you money. We did religious CDs and stuff. I was part of the church. I was an altar boy for many years. I went to a religious school for many years, so I knew all the items. I knew what they were. I did the religious service award for its Adultary Day for the Boy Scouts. I earned that. One of the only ones, there was 2 of us in the entire district that earned those. It was me and one other guy. So, I served for bishop. I know all of the structure. I knew what to look for. So I've done a ton of religious items. I talk about religious items. I talk about vintage ones. Wholesale religious CDs have been a good start for us. There's just so many areas that you can make money on. It doesn't have to be from a thrift store. There's nothing wrong with thrift stores. I love going to thrift stores. I wish both of our Sabres didn't close down, because we went to them every single week, sometimes twice a week. So don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with them, but I couldn't get enough to live on. We basically went for clothing and just odds and ends and for a kick. I love going to thrift stores. It's like a treasure hunt. It's like going to an antique mall and trying to get that diamond in the rough that's sitting on a shelf somewhere, and getting that one thing. It's picking. You're a cherry picker. You're cherry picking your source. That's what you're doing. You are going in there and picking out the few items that are worth something. And the only way you're as cost effective as you can be is by knowing so many different areas. So if you just center in on 1 or 2 little things, or just clothing, and you don't want to branch off, something could happen. You're tying yourself to one little tiny area. So if clothing falls out, which it's been on a decline because prices are dropping retail and stuff, but if it falls out in your area, you gotta have another source, and most of the other areas take a little bit of a learning curve. So I'm just gonna plead with you here. You should literally start to do something else with that, or find other platforms that you can list it on as well. So if it's vintage clothing or something like that, you can pop it on Etsy or somewhere else. I know some of the sites, McCrary and all that kind of stuff, they don't have much of a a viewership, much of a following, so to speak. So, I look at, monthly views and things like that. I look at all that stuff, and I think everybody should, in all honesty. If you're selling on a site, know how many views they're getting, know how much in promotional money they are spending, and marketing money they're spending to get that going. I don't listen to the radio much, but I turned on the radio today before we had our XM on, and there was an eBay commercial. As soon as I turned it on, it was already like 5 seconds into an eBay commercial. Now, I know people say eBay doesn't advertise. Every time I turn it on the radio, we were at the mall the other day, and eBay commercial played in the mall, in the main city mall here, which was kind of odd. So, eBay does spend some money. It's into the 20 or some odd million from what I remember last time I looked. They spend millions on advertising. Obviously not as nearly as much as say, Amazon or something, but, they do spend a ton on advertising. So they're in the game for the long run. They're not a slouch on it. If you talk about TV or something, or even cable or something, or even satellite, I haven't had a cable or a satellite hookup or anything for like 15 plus years. We have been strictly internet for 15 plus years, nothing else. So, there's more cord cutters. So if you're going to advertise to a TV market, a local broadcast or something, or even cable, and even satellite to many extents now, you're losing a larger and larger share. So radio is still a viable market. That's one of the few. I used to do radio commercials for some of the restaurants that we were in, and we did some work with some Tonka. He was part of the Choctaw Nation, and we did some for their casinos in Mississippi. So I did a lot of radio stuff too. So that the actual reports and the outcome from radio is pretty high, if you didn't know that. So anyway, XM radio obviously is limited, which I do listen to too, but regular radio broadcasts still rate fairly high for advertising. A lot of people sit in a car. Not everybody has a satellite radio or anything like that. So a lot of people do listen to the drive home. Around here it's called the drive home, I think. I don't really on the road when it's rush hour ever anymore these days. I haven't been in a traffic jam in 2 years probably, in all honesty, other than maybe traveling out of state. Locally, I don't hit traffic. I don't go out those times of days because I don't have to. But anyway, let's get to some conversation here. I do have some notes that we'll go over too. There's big things moving along. So anyway, Hustle and Grind Calgary. How you doing? There's Craig from Landshark Picker. Welcome tonight. If you haven't checked him out, you should check out his channel. He's a pretty good guy. We actually have a project going on, which I'll holler out real soon here. Disney Family 515. Wubba Lubba Dub Dub, how are you doing? Tara's here. Applebee's Antique Treasure, how are you doing? And Mike, of course. Mike's a long timer. Hang on just a second here. My feed is frozen. Okay, here we go. Hang on, folks. My feed's way off. As always, it wouldn't move. So we are back on track. So, Patrick, scanning postcards while I listen. Scanning is definitely the most convenient way to do postcards, paper of any kind. Now, I've got a couple of the same scanners. It's Epson, what's it, a DS510. I am going to alter one and actually see if I can't figure out to get it to scan magazines, if there's a way to do that. I'm going to mess around with it because all it is the gap in there that it's going to take some modifications, but I might yank one apart here. We've been talking about it. I hate, well, I can't say hate because I don't really do the magazines myself, but magazines can be time consuming to flip and all this. And if you can just drop them into something, you know, even if two people are doing it, it would take no time. And the scanner that we have will do sheet music, I found out the other day. If you adjust it, you can go into the settings and preferences into most of these scanners, the duplex scanners, that is, which do both sides at the same time, and you can adjust the thickness of the paper. So scanning is the bomb in my book for that. I thank Popeye's Postcards for that one because I gave up on scanners. We had 7 of them, and this is like the only one that I like. How you doing, Lex? How's things going? I got Penny Day here as well, too. The Bargain Effect. Hello there. First time able to catch live. Well, welcome. Glad to have you first time here. How you doing, Hotman? I was going to show you something, but I think I'll have to wait till the wife's back here. I picked up a World War II book today. It's a propaganda German book that was printed in Paris, which I thought was pretty interesting. All in German, of course. Silver Soap. Best art to look out for. Best art. If you're talking about paintings, Southwestern stuff we usually do very well on. Oddball artists, it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, we sell our own art. I do my own artwork, and we do sell that not daily, but pretty much weekly. I'm selling multiple items of our own artwork that we've actually created. Artwork, obviously, I do comic art. I love movie-related art, collectibles like that too. So there is no best art to look for, I guess. It's whatever you run into. You know, I ran into cell animation. I got a couple watercolor backgrounds from, one looks like it's from Powerpuff Girls, and I hope it is. I'm going to have to do some research on it. But it came from a large anime collection, so it's definitely from a movie, but or a show of some sort. By looking at the quality, I would say it's a television show, and it does look like Powerpuff Girls. Our kids watched them. Let's see. How you doing, Larry? Larry Spicer. Nancy's here, too. How are you doing? Let's get caught up here. Let me at least try to. Mr. Mark, how are you doing? We've been to Canada quite a few times. My son is going back to, I think he's going to Ontario again come this summer to be a second trip there. Mr. Mom Vlog, how are you doing? I remember Mr. Mom, the movie. Hello, I was wondering what happens when PayPal, they are no longer refunding seller fees. What happens, you're going to take it as a loss. There's not much you can do about it. The seller fee part of it, it's just a aspect of it. I think they should just charge you the 35-cent transactional fee, and that should be done with it. We are going to probably this weekend switch one of our other stores over to the new payment system. I emailed some people just to see some of my biggest clients on our other store, because it's wholesale and stuff like that, just to see what their feelings were, and they don't mind signing up. So I'm not going to lose a ton of money if we do, and we don't have a lot of folks. The wife's going to be here in just a minute. Let's see what time we got. I hear her coming in the house, so just a few more minutes. Let me just finish the conversation here. Oh, well, she's here right now. Hang on. We'll just hang on just a second. My better half's coming on, so I'll carry that question in just a second here.
Hello.
Marky, if you did not know, this is my wife. We've been married for quite a long time. Happily married, too. We work together and the whole works. Yeah. But on to the refund issue. Very rarely do I get one that actually has that issue. I had somebody cancel yesterday, I think. You know, of course, you're going to get hit once in a while. It just raises my overall fee. I still run like 80% profit margin pretty much across the board, so I'm not going to worry about a few here, a few there. If somebody does it and they cancel, usually I just block them if they cancel a listing. In my book, you should be able to buy it if you purchase it, you should commit and you're done. I mean, it's a binding ordeal as far as I'm concerned. So if somebody cancels on me, even if it's shortly afterwards, I just block them these days. I just move on. I wasn't going to do that, but with the PayPal aspect of it, and we had somebody trying to pull a fast one, eBay sided with us, and we got all of our money back and everything. So no big deal. But I just block them nowadays. That'll solve that, at least from the people trying to do it to you again in the future. Somebody cancels a deal, I block them. Unless it's somebody I've dealt with for many years or something and they honestly made a mistake. You know, for the most part, I just block them. Once you've blocked them and then you've relisted the item, they can't contact you either, as far as I can say either. I know in some instances it still lets like a few going through, but after that it's usually done, dead deal.
Where are you at?
We're right about there.
Okay.
I was going to have you grab something, but I will just wait.
I can grab
No, it's way back in the back.
Okay.
Let's see, we're on Abby. Abby Normal. Whoever's seen Young Frankenstein... Frankenstein with Gene Wilder, that was one of the lines in there with Marty Feldman, if you ever saw that. My parents took us to see that in the movie theater when it first came out. I remember that as a child. Abby Normal was the name.
I always liked History of the World.
Any tips for photographing a chrome toaster? For us, we've got fabric. I've got sheets as well as the filters for my lights. All I do is flip the filters over and adjust the settings on my camera. We've got a Nikon D5300 and it pretty much sets up. All I got to do is change the lighting button and it'll pretty much get it any way I want. There's no reflection that way. And also you can do, I've got black boards, and I don't have one right handy because we haven't taken any photos in a few days, but I've got black boards that we can hold over too, and it takes off the reflection off the ground. So if you're getting like a reflection back from the item from like a white base, we have white boards on everything. So it's like a melamine covered counters and stuff. So we just hold the black out there, these black boards, and they partially block the light so it doesn't come directly onto the chrome item. We do a lot of chrome candlesticks and mid-mod century and stuff like that. So anyway, hopefully that's a help there. How you doing, Carl? Welcome. I got black crystal dice right below that.
Wow,
Consomme. We produce almost unique items, but we are in Denmark, far away. There is not much sale on U.S. eBay. Most are from Asia or EU. Yeah, I could see that. Never been to Denmark, obviously, but I wouldn't mind going one of these days. Got a nice, rich history. Unique items are always best, obviously, no matter where you're at. And if you produce them, it's a big plus. I think you actually have a eBay site, a Denmark eBay, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. If I'm wrong, you can pop that in there. But welcome from North Carolina. I got Bobby Plowman. Dynamic Comics. I'm selling Funko PR and I want to start selling collectible comics and brand new comics, finding issues with the shipping. You have to ship comics first class I ship first class. An average comic book's like maybe 8 ounces the way we pack. All first class. I got a video even on how to pack them if you're having like packing issues. Price-wise, comic book-wise, new ones I don't mess with, so I couldn't tell you that. I only sell mostly vintage. We just sold one yesterday for $225. It was I think it's issue number 6 of Venus, which is a semi-sci-fi Marvel comic. It's by Marvel. It's an early Stan Lee one, but we got $225, paid $1 for it. It's one of those titles that most people think is just a girl's title and they didn't pay much attention to it, but it's got a lot of sci-fi content in it, so I was happy with $225 on it, let's put it that way. Hey, Annie, how are you doing? I didn't see you snuck in there on me, Annie. Beetleology, how are you doing? You can slide on down there. Yeah, our feed pops all over the place, so please bear with us if that happens. You have a complete wardrobe from Batman 1989. If you're talking about like the actual movie, I would have to call out auction house. Call Heritage, or even Sotheby's, or go to Tested. Adam Savage's Tested. There is a auction house that actually authenticates all movie-related stuff, and I can't think of the name of it. I wished I had my other laptop opened up over here. I can't think. It's something props. Somebody out here probably knows what I'm talking about. But on Adam Savage's Tested, the YouTube channel here, they just had it like in the last month or so. The auction company that does that, they will do it all. If it's the legit deal, they will pay and have it shipped and the whole works. And they sell for primo. They just published a huge thick catalog for everything they do, and it's tons of photographs for everything. That would be possibly your best source if it's actually from the movie. I wished I could remember the name. Prop Warehouse, maybe, or something along that line.
Remember the one at Disney? Was it Sid?
Sid Cahuenga's.
Cahuenga's. Yeah,
we used to go there too and buy stuff. Let me see if I can get myself in here. Probably stirring it the wrong way. Hang on, folks, for just a second here. Let's see where we are. There we go. We're going to adjust our image here, folks, for just a second there. Okay, sorry about that. Let's see here. Hopefully that answers your question there, Dynamic Comics. I know that auction company's been around for a long time and they know what they're doing. Amazon Seller 99, how are you doing? Happy Thursday. China, Japan, hello, France, Taiwan, but only one U.S. There is a slowdown in the EEUO. We knew it before 2008. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on like that. The economics of the area. Tons of unopened Hot Wheel Matchbook cars. Loads of albums and 44 posters. It's hard to get all of it in one site. We put it all up on our site. I mean, most of the collectibles are up here. The key is to have a whole bunch of one type of item. If you're going to sell records, you can't just sell 50 of them. You got to sell a lot, like hundreds and hundreds of them, to have a draw and have people keep coming back. It gets your name out there. People who collect records and they see that you've got some good records are going to search your inventory to see what else you may have. I can promise you that. Just like postcards, just like all the other stuff.
Postcards. And you were just talking about postcards.
Tahoe, Placerville, those are usually the key ones. Any small town in California are good postcards. Real picture, real photo postcards. Some of the expositions over there, not the Golden Gate one. Those are too new. What was it, 38, 39, or 3940 Golden Gate Expo, I think is the one. You don't want to mess with that. You should probably turn up stuff from like maybe the Pacific Expo, I think it would be called. Train depots are always good. Nothing big city, nothing Los Angeles, nothing San Francisco. I mean, there's a few. There's one that I run into quite often. It's Opium Dens in San Francisco.
Those are wild.
Yeah, we've got a laugh out of those. But those show up. They're $10 cards. I pick them up. I pick up maybe a couple of those a month, mixed in with San Francisco, like Chinatown or something like that. But real photo or real picture postcards are the key ones you want. Little towns, oddball stuff. 1920s or before are better, obviously. 1910s, the average I usually find. Tahoe is the number one, though. Tahoe, Placerville. It's all in the same little area. Anything in between that, any roads or little town areas or street shots or anything anywhere in that general area traveling to or from usually have a high value on it. Santa Monica items do very well. Santa Barbara items, like if you had some real photo postcards of like a golf course in Monterey or something from like 1910 or 20, you're going to have something there. You know, stuff like that goes very well. Let's see, where are we at? Hey, Rich, how you doing? Rich Sanders. Anybody else would be great. I'm currently at Dynamic Comics. I'm restocking now. I'm doing so everything will be ready within a week or so. Any advice will be greatly appreciated. I mean, you're just going to have to get it out there. I'd make sure you know how the site works if you're just starting out on eBay. You can sell all that stuff on Amazon too, just FYI, because we sell most of that. I don't do CGCs. I let somebody else worry about that. I don't mess with it at all. I don't want to have stuff coming and going and adding to the value. Even if I don't get as much, I'd just rather sell it and get rid of it. It's turnover. Usually I make a ton of money on comics anyway, so I don't really worry about it. I know there's a ton of money to be made on CGC if you're willing to mess with it. We get a discount through Amazon, and I think you probably would too if you're on Amazon. As a seller, your services that Amazon also offers you. And I'm part of the B2B part on Amazon, business to business, so we get breaks and things from that as well too. So anyway, let's see here. Yeah, thanks, Craig. I always forget to tell everybody to hit the like button. We always get a couple negatives. I don't really care about that, People like it or they don't. The ones that make me laugh are the ones who watch the whole video and then leave a negative after it and complain about it, but then keep coming back.
Right here. Match covers.
Matchbooks. No, I had an opportunity to buy, I don't know how many today. All from the local area too, but unless they're complete with the matches, uncut, most of the time they're cut. They'll cut off the striker strip and the actual matches. I know they're safety matches, so they aren't safe to be rubbing, but you don't want to do that. If you're going to sell vintage matchbooks, you want complete ones. Most of the time on eBay, you can see people selling hundreds and hundreds of like 500-600 matchbooks for like $30. And sometimes that's all they go for, even in books and collections, just because they have to be something special. With matches, you want what's called feature matches. And if you want to go look what that is, go on eBay and look up feature matchbook. Basically, it means when you open it up, the matches have like an image that goes across all the matches. You've seen some. We have the showgirls. Yeah. Like one match might have a picture of a showgirl on it, and when they're all together in the matchbook, it lines up. I've had some Hitler ones, believe it or not, some World War II ones. We've sold matchbooks, complete ones though, always complete, for anywhere from say 45 to I think 125 was the most I got for a complete matchbook. I sold a Tahoe one for 45 the other day even. So Tahoe matches, but again, they were complete matchbooks with the matches. They have to be packed up specially if it's an open face striker where it's not, where you could strike it by accident. So anyway. Hey, Chris, how are you doing? Chris, Thrift Shop Hustler. You can check him out as well. He's got a real good channel. Let's see here. Where are we at?
You were up there.
Okay. We won't. Audrey, you got that one there. They're 8 by 11. Well, probably 8.5 by 11. It would be my guess. Those are standard stills. Those are if they've got a statement on the bottom. Usually they'll have a number, an NSS number as well, which is National Screen Service. Or it'll have like 45 and then a slash and then like a date. That's they could be official. There's like reproductions, so you're going to have to watch out on those type of material. Those are stills. They would have been issued in press books with like maybe another 7 or so. There's usually like 8 to say 20 some odd stills in a press book. For every movie that's released, they release press books with dozens of photos for some of them. If it's a big Hollywood production, they'll release dozens and dozens of photos. We used to get them at Disney. The Sid Cahuenga's there all the time. Or Bargain Basement. Remember we'd come out with stacks of those?
I liked the Bargain Basement.
It was like 10 cents on the dollar on average at Bargain Basement at Disney, so... Anyway, you got to be careful on some of those. If it has all the information, the copyright notices, and it's for something really good, like a really hot movie of the day, it may be worth getting. You're going to have to do comps to see, though. Back in the day when Terminator just came out, those were hot. So if it's like 90s and you got like Terminator 2 or something like that in the lot, they might have some value because there's another Terminator coming out. But if it's just an everyday Joe Schmo movie, I wouldn't mess with it in all honesty because they only sell for a couple bucks. At the most, and that's including shipping if they're just common stills. Stills are basically a dime or a dime a dozen. I buy them in big boxes of them. Sometimes, well, I've got the green screen on, but sometimes I run in on like 500 stills for like $100. So, that's how cheap you have to get the majority of them to be able to sell them. Now, if they're like military 8x10 photos or something, totally different story, but anyway.
I was thinking about the wet paint signs at Disney that tourists would steal.
Oh, yeah. We had a stack of those. At Disney, they've got wet paint signs.
With Donald Duck going, ah!
Yeah, it's him with paint all over him. And I don't know how many. We used to acquire those any which way we could, and we knew one of the painters there, and we'd be lucky enough to get the used ones. I didn't care if they had tape on them. We got like $40 a sign out of those things.
Yeah,
so
the guests that go into the
they would
Disney
swipe them.
Steal them for a souvenir.
They're limited production. They're only produced for painting. They're not for sale, so... Stuff like that was always good. Let's see here. How you doing, Death Pile? NASCAR, how are you doing, NASCAR, man? Let's see here. Jaded Diva, how are you doing? Yeah, I listen to some other channels while I work too. Bearded Picker, I haven't even had a chance to listen to Scott in a while. This whole week's been a madhouse here. We've been trying to get all of our listings caught up, so that's our key on that one here. Why don't you slide down? We can... let's see here.
Oh, right here.
Man, Bear, Pig. Yeah, the records, there's a reproduction of that record, the one I showed you. If you're talking about the Jack Montgomery, there's a new version of it on these, and it actually has a star instead of this the scepter on the other side of it. So you got to make sure it's the exact same number on a record. If you're looking for a record, it has to have the exact same numbered record. They'll reissue them quite often, so.
You want me to go down?
Hang on. Chris is talking to somebody else.
My dog must be around because my nose is itching. Yep.
I think Big Bad Bruins is like a sports-related one, if I'm not mistaken. You can go to Pop Psych and look up the Derek the Turk. If it's not on there, it's not worth much. That would be my guess. I don't know that specific one. Big Bad Bruins, though, sounds like a hockey team maybe? If I'm not mistaken, maybe. I'm not a sports fan at all, so. They're talking about Persian rugs. We've had a few Persian rugs in the back in the day. Yeah, you've got to know what you're doing with Persian rugs, and if you sell it as something it's not, you're going to hear about it, I can tell you for sure. I know somebody who sold one, he had it authenticated by somebody, and the guy who authenticated it was wrong, and the buyer was pretty steamed because it was a lot of money to be tied up for a couple weeks between shipping back and forth, so it sold for thousands.
What's this?
Yeah, I don't allow anybody to sell consume on here, so if you're advertising for somebody to hit you up, I'm going to delete it, not to be rude, but I don't allow that to be marked, and I wouldn't allow anybody to advertise a gun on my show. I'm not saying I don't believe in guns, but I don't do that on my show, so nothing personal, but let's see here.
I have my dad's old gun.
Yeah, we have nothing wrong with guns, but I won't advertise them or have any merchandise advertised on my channel.
I have really bad aim, though. I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
I've got really good aim, but...
Yeah, I suck at that. And so where are we going?
You want to slide down. We're in the Ohio, Michigan area, if anybody wants to know.
We used to be in Mississippi.
Oh, well, that's pretty neat, Lex. Top 10 hit in the 60s, Ramblers. Rambler Nash by Donnie Con. I don't know that one. I'll have to look that one up. Hey, Scott, how are you doing?
Oh, yeah, for storing postcards.
No, a bin. A bin.
We've got lots of bins.
Yeah, I got...
And they all
we've got like
out.
70 bins like this full of what's up. Probably 70 is a good legit. This is all we do. There's just a numbered bin here, and they're just lined up behind whichever number they are. Yeah. Says what they are on the front. Well, this one I need to change the label since we've already moved to another bin already. This one's full, as you can see. When we get one bin full, we just go on to another one. I would never store any postcards in a book ever. They're sometimes a pain. They stick together and static and the whole works. I wouldn't do that at all, personally.
Oh, the Antique Roadshow.
Yeah, I've seen that one, Chris, on that Native American rug. We've had a few in our day, a few Native American ones. Not something that pricey. 1,000 plus was about the best we've ever done. We had a Navajo one.
28 vintage racing hats at Goodwill, 1990s.
Yeah, well, that's probably a pretty good one here. I haven't looked up racing hats in a little while. I'm not into sports, but I do mess with baseball caps, as you've seen us here. We've shown some. How you doing, Duncan? Yeah, he's a day ahead of us.
Happy Easter to all the spiders.
Yeah, Easter is coming in here.
Yeah, Goodwill has been.
Yeah, we went to a Goodwill, as you saw, the items I just showed you earlier. So Goodwill has been fairly dead for around here. We don't go hardly ever to a thrift store anymore, unless we're just going for some other reason. I don't go to Source because I'd never make enough to make it worth my while. We spent some time there. We looked at everything. We looked through clothing. We looked through books.
Toys.
They scanned all the books. I promise you, they've scanned
I
them.
asked the one woman, there was no dolls. There's, you know how they always bagged up the Barbie dolls?
Yeah.
And they said they sell those on auction. Yeah.
Everything good goes somewhere else these days.
You could find like a Barbie with no head maybe there.
Yeah, let's see where we at. I don't want to miss anybody.
Right.
No, I got that. Treasure experts. Yeah, we find high dollar 45s at antique malls. Rarely, though, because the antique malls around here, there's actually record dealers there. And usually the actual other vendors will show them first before they ever put them out on the floor these days. So that's what I've run into at most of those. I just get them from pickers these days and stuff like that and calls. I don't even mess with most of the estate sales because all the estate sales around here, before you or I get a chance to, people have already been in there and looked at them like a week before the sale even started for the most part. I've run into that. Every sale that we've been involved with, that we helped run or something with other folks, people show up the night before. You know, there's scammers here all the time. So, you know, that's one of the biggest things around here. If they don't announce it till the day of the sale, someone's already looked at the stuff almost every time around here. So I'm lucky enough we get into a few sales like that ahead of time, but you know, for the most part, I don't have much luck with some of that kind of stuff anyway. Asian Pacific Imports figurines. If that's a brand, no, I would not know about that one either.
Let me just slide down.
Where are we? You can hit on something once in a while, but I have been to 5 this week and found 0. Carolina Picker, I'm sure, is talking about Goodwills again. Thrift stores in general around here are almost dead. We got to go way out to get to one that's even halfway decent.
Yeah, it's
There's 2 that we go to that are still okay. Not for clothing again. We've gotten a few jackets there, though, that I've made some good money on.
We have so many jackets.
Yeah, we've got a lot of jackets. Let's see here. Let's see here. Where's that? Charlotte grew up. Yeah, we've been to the Speedway out there once or twice ourselves. You can slide down there. Just
okay.
A couple people are talking back and forth. Talking about Chris, if you're doing Native American baskets and Native American collectibles, you got to be very careful on those nowadays because it's against the law to sell them, I think, in Georgia and Oregon. Let's pop up there for just a second. If you get caught selling something that's authentic, there could actually be a crime to selling Native American stuff. I've sold it for many years. We stopped mostly once the new laws come into play. So for those of you who don't know, you darn well better look into the laws and selling Native American anything nowadays. We used to sell, I had a bunch of moccasins. We had some beaded moccasins, Plains Indians. Remember all those we had? Yeah. So we've delved into it, and we used to find arrowheads, and I've sold mega collections of arrowheads, thousands of dollars worth of arrowheads in my day. Lots of them, and I'm not just a few. We've had some big ones. We've had regional ones, prehistoric. We've had some graded. We've had some sent off. Nowadays, there's laws that if you transport it over a state line, meaning if you mail it to somebody in a state that has a law against it, you can have just committed a felony. You know, and no exaggeration, and they will go after people for this. Don't think it's a one-time thing and they're not going to go after you. Baskets are on that list. We've got a nice, and I mean a real nice basket, but I can't list it as Native American without paperwork. So anything, and that goes back to the Navajo rugs and stuff like that. You can't just sell those anymore. You can't use the term Navajo or Native American in it without having a sheet or something that says it's okay to sell. A lot of that item. So
what was the Choctaw man who was
Tonka?
Yeah,
Tonka.
He was talking about that too.
We know people at the reservation. I've had a very good working relationship with Tonka, with the Choctaw Reservation there
in Mississippi.
Yeah. So you're gonna. There's lots of trouble to be had with selling Native American collectibles.
Take that seriously.
Yeah, baskets or not, you darn well, especially pottery, because there's so many stolen and looted items from the plains areas and stuff and in Southwest. So not to change the subject on that and call anything out, but you got to be seriously careful on Native American anything. She's got Native American blood in her family, so I'm just telling you that we know the ins on that very, very exclusively. You know, she's got family members that could go to school for free, so, you know, judge that on what you want to do. But I don't sell it anymore, even if I think it's legit, just because I don't want to mess up and find out I messed up on a tribe or a nation and got it wrong. Some of the time it's a little hard to tell a couple. They're so close if they're like Lakota and maybe one of the other Plains Indians, because we've had Lakota pieces before too. So, you know, I know some of the differences, but there's just too many. You wouldn't want to risk it. So let's see here. I mostly saw collectibles, a mix of things with some electronics. The good way to go too. Yeah, we do jewelry again. Jewelry's always good.
Yeah, I always get first dibs.
Yeah, she always gets. In fact, she's got. I don't know if she's had that one on before. That's another one of our haul pieces.
Oh, and my opal.
Oh yeah, she's got a real nice opal. She loves opals. Let's see here. Our only clothing I buy are men's polo shirts with company names on them or race teams. Yeah, those can go. I just hate clothing in general.
All I can think of the polo style shirts is "Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell." That show.
Yeah, that's not a bad show. That's a bizarre 15-minute show on Hulu. Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell.
I want a couple of polo shirts with their little.
That you can buy them on
logos.
eBay. I think I saw one the other day. Still check the thrift stuff, but don't really.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
I would
what
never
we do.
rely on a thrift store. The truth. That's for sure. Yvette, I have bought many clothes at thrift stores and consignment shops most of my life. We have too, until recently. We started on clothing. We did clothing forever.
Even before when I was still in high school.
We've always went to thrift stores.
I had a ton of all kinds of crazy vintage stuff.
You just can't do that around here. I'm not saying it's everywhere in the country, but it's going to be everywhere in the country at some point. Once these national chains take over and all the small chains see that the national chains are making more money doing it that way, they're all going to do it that way. It's a given. It's been getting worse and worse year after year. So, you know, just the whole invention of eBay has started a trend.
Well, Savers used to have a very long rack that was just specifically vintage.
Oh yeah, and then they had none.
Yeah, and then they had it all marked up. Those were more
high-end
expensive
stuff too.
Yeah.
They used to have a vintage book section at Savers too, but after that, I don't know whether they were auctioning it or what was going on, but pretty soon there was none there.
Yeah.
It was never there. There was never
and
a
at,
section.
Goodwill, because I asked the lady, I'm like, you used to have a ton of vintage stuff, but they auction those off.
Same with the records.
They get more money for them that way.
The only records that Goodwill around here puts out are like junk big band LPs or junk 78s. There is nothing at like Lawrence Welk and stuff like that, or polkas. And not good polkas either, because there's some good polkas, but nothing.
Like
there's nothing good at a record section at Goodwill ever. Because they auction them all off around here. Every Goodwill does. And we've got like 6 or 7 Goodwills, and every one auctions them off.
Yeah,
I don't know if
they
it's
do.
a central one that gets them and then sends them out or what. But if a store gets the records, they don't go out on the floor. I know that for sure because I've seen them actually being walked in and going somewhere else.
Well,
so.
that huge Goodwill that they renovated, and we walked in, and it's mostly empty space.
Yeah, they changed it. They made it smaller.
Yeah, they didn't even have racks of shoes. There was just like 8 or 10 shoes on top.
Yeah, we did go into a one we hadn't been into in a while. It wasn't any good at all
It was a
either.
total letdown.
But most of them are these days.
If you wanted fake ivy, they had a ton of that stuff there.
Yeah, they did. Fiskars is a good brand. Yep, definitely so. I buy art supplies all the time, so.
I love it. The bootleg.
Yeah, I've got some, what is it? I don't even know the brand on it. Oh, well, I can't think of the name of the brand, but I've got a couple pieces I think are bootleg myself right here. Oh, you can slide down there. How you doing, Swamp Picker?
Okay. That's enough, or you want me to?
You can go and bring up NASCAR Man up to the top because he's
Okay.
talking about Hot Wheels. You can just leave him so I can... Yeah, I don't mind Hot Wheels at all. We like the old ones. I just don't do the new ones. It's just another area for me to learn, and I don't need to. If I needed to, I'm sure I'd pick it up and do whatever I could because we do buy them. I bought a whole mess of them the other day for $1 a piece at Kroger's.
I destroyed all mine from the 70s.
We used to blow them up.
Playing with them, yeah.
We used to
and
put firecrackers in
Me
them.
too.
Knock out the window and shove a firecracker
Yeah.
in there and watch them go flying in the air into pieces. You could blow off the rivets on the bottom of them with a cherry bomb real easily, actually. So
The good old days.
I'm a nurse, but most of what I know I can't sell. Yeah, that's true. I could see that too.
I collect the medical, things that they give away for free.
Yeah, in fact, there's some sitting over on that shelf, I think, too, probably.
The little beanies of
Or the plastic
toe
figures.
fungus dude. I've got a little beanie of him.
The little cartoon characters.
Yeah, and the coffee mugs, the medical companies.
Carlene Harper, have 45s and 78s, would like to get a player and cleaner. I would not spend the money on a cleaner right off the bat. A cleaner is going to set you back a few $100s for a cheapo one, and then you got to buy fluid. You can wash them by hand depending on the disc itself. That would be my personal guess, with a little bit of dish detergent and the smoothest, softest cloth you can imagine, like a ShamWow, believe it or not. Those things are good for records because they don't have the static stuff that's going to stick to the records. Player-wise, just go get yourself a used ion turntable from like an Allied Records or something for like $40 if you're going to get into it. If it's just common records you're getting, for the most part, I don't play them once you know how to grade them. Once you know the grading by visualness, you don't have to play them. We don't play many unless I play a bunch because I record them, but I don't have to do that for my listings anymore. Like this $400 record I showed you, Jack Montgomery. I'm not going to play it or include a clip. I'll probably play it for myself just to make sure, but other than that, I don't mess with that too much. Don't invest any money until you're sure you want to mess with records. Grading them is usually the hardest thing people can't get, and then second is wrapping them in properly.
Oh, yeah.
I had the first record that I've had broken in forever, and I triple and quad cardboard fold them too. And the guy said the guy must have mangled it. So, he had a terrible postal employee. I haven't had a record damaged in shipment in 2+ years, in all honesty, and that's counting any kind of record, and I'm talking bulk record purchases and everything, because we'll sell records in big lots of like 120, 125, 45s.
Those weigh a lot.
They weigh a lot,
too.
yeah. I've had to help carry out to the mail sometimes when we filled up the little truck, the postal truck ourselves before, just us, and they had to take a special trip. They complained and got all mad. They said next time you need to call us and schedule a specific pickup, but. I did it that way because, I just wanted to make sure it was going to get done. If you schedule a separate pickup around here, they just don't show up, it seems like.
They laugh at you.
Yeah, they laugh at you and hang the phone up when they're done.
Church items can make a great profit.
Yeah, I've sold church stuff forever. In fact, I've got a real giant candle. It's a crucifix with Jesus, and then it's actually a candlestick from actually an altar. It's crystal, believe it or not. It's glass.
I remember in the 1980s, Madonna wore the rosaries, and
all the time.
Of the
Everybody wore
girls
rosaries.
in the junior high that I went to had rosaries. I was Baptist, so I had no idea.
Everybody had them, yeah. It was a big
I
thing.
didn't.
I went to a religious school, so, we saw those every day of my life.
Our teachers did not like it, though.
My teachers were nuns, so... Is there an easy way to identify red lines? They're going to have a red line, and on the bottom of the car, it's going to say Hong Kong for sure, pat pending, or something along that line, or foreign pat's applied for, something along that line. The markings are pretty specific, from my opinion.
I wished I would have kept all mine and not torn to pieces.
Yeah, you can find there's Hot Wheels, the Hot Wheels Museum, I think, online. It's got a picture. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the site. It's on one of my favorites, but it's got a picture, I think, of every Hot Wheel and every bottom marking I have seen. I don't know if it has the new ones. I only look at the vintage ones. So
I was reading Annie's comment.
Church sales are good, Carl. Yes.
Calling a guy too.
Yeah, I could see somebody hating that. Yep. You got to watch out, though, on red lines, though, because they remade some of them, and you'll have to actually look at the bottom of it. There's new red lines, and people swap out and make scam cars, too, so you have to really watch out on red lines. I always look at the bottom. If it says Hong Kong, you're safe on it.
Yeah, he was just talking about that.
RA, yeah, we get good profits from RA, but I don't make $400 on any RA item that I've ever done, in all honesty. And I don't usually make $50 on any RA item that I get. We do sell a lot of, cheaper items, $20, $30 RA profit, but I make so much more money on paper and vintage and collectibles routinely. It's crazy. With records, that's 3 records that I can put $500 on. I should at least walk with $400 a piece. That's $1,200 for a $3 investment. So I do RA. We do RA very extensively, but I make more money, a higher percentage of profit across the board all the time, routinely, week after week after week on vintage stuff. I don't know much RA items that you're going to make $400 on, or that I can sell and get $2,500 on one single record. We've sold records for $4,000. So, it only takes a few records like that to, make up the difference between any RA experience I can have, in all honesty. Nothing wrong with RA, again, because we do love RA, but...
The truth. RA is a great profit, but can anything be more dull? And there's another one up here.
Wheels are important. Takes a while to learn it. Yeah, you got to learn the cars. The wheels do make a difference. Some of them are removable and things along that line. I probably have one of all the original ones too. And we collect the buttons too. I'll buy the buttons too from the original ones. RA is good profit going to be for me. It's you get it. You fill. You put in your shipment on Seller Central, or whatever third-party app or whatever you're using, and it's gone. It's here and then it's gone. And we ship it out immediately if it's a bunch of stuff. We try to wait, obviously, if it's not a full box, but, the Home Depot boxes are pretty good.
And he's talking about the bases there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. As he said, Chris is saying, even the bases. Sometimes I don't run into, maybe there are, but I haven't run into any... reshoots on the base that say, Pat Pending in Hong Kong and stuff, but maybe there are too. I'm not sure.
You want me to scroll down?
Yeah, you can scroll down. Let's see here. Great sales this end. I can't keep up. $15.95 documents sold, $225. Letters selling, old envelopes with QV stamps selling daily. I had an offer today to buy a whole bunch of back of books today, BOBs today, and it was all like tax documents with Washingtons on them. So I almost bought those today, but I may still call him back. He had hundreds of them at $1 a piece, but I'd probably get $10 a piece for them. It'd be a long haul, so I didn't take them on the spot, but who knows?
Just some of the comments are hilarious.
Hustle and grind Calgary. I live in Canada, and I hear eBay ads on the radio all the time. We hear them all the time. Well, whenever I turn the radio, I happen to hear eBay, and I don't listen to the radio very much. So if I'm hearing them that much with how few times I listen to the radio, it's got to be on the radio all the time.
And she's got a...
Yeah, RA isn't fun.
Right here.
Who knows what's going on with PayPal now holding sellers' fees and returns. It's just something they're doing. They figure they've processed your orders for the PayPal. Your way out of it is to go to eBay's new payment system. You can collect payments in other forms. So the only thing I wonder about that is if eBay has in cahoots with PayPal, maybe, trying to get something going on, maybe get you to switch over, and then, you still can use PayPal, or going to still be having the option to use PayPal with the new payment system. Well, as I said earlier, I'm going to test out the new payment system on one of our other stores and just see what happens. So
this is the one I was laughing about. Annie.
16th century documents are
sexy.
I like vintage paper. We used to buy leaflets and pages out of vintage books from the 1500s, and even as far back as the 1400s. Leaflets or page leaves, they call them as well.
Remember the old German books that we had? And then they had money inside of them?
Oh, yeah, we found some colonial from Germantown area in Pennsylvania, and they had old money in it.
Yeah.
I got a Franklin note. I found a Ben Franklin note the other day in a book. Original one, too, from the 1772 or somewhere in that range. But it's a real Franklin. I'll probably try and post a picture of it in my Instagram page.
Blind yourself like Bird Box to make RA fun again.
Yeah, I don't know what Bird Box is.
It's that movie that she's blindfolded. And
I didn't see it.
I didn't watch it. People bitch about it all the time.
Joel H., I'm in Ohio and hear eBay ads often. Yeah, that's what I just said there. All the time. Mainly Yvette's found as St. John. See, I don't mess with clothing, so I'm sure most other people might know that. Yeah, PayPal keeps the fees from the transaction. Didn't even read if it's the whole fee. There's nothing I can do about it. So, the few times I get an issue like that, I'll worry about it then.
I see. I wasn't even touching it, and the darn thing just.
See if we can pop back up there. I think we're still farther up. Yeah, our feed's terrible. We're still farther up.
You need to catch up.
Yeah, I don't know where we're at now. Here we are. I know we've seen that one. You can slide down a little farther. That's probably about, here farther down.
You want me to go further
here,
down?
Go down. Put that one at the
right
top
there.
of the screen. Yeah. Sorry, folks. Our feed just bounces all over the place. Let's see here.
Right here. Duncan.
Fiber. We have fiber out here installed, but no one actually has it because it's only locally, and when you get to the transfer boxes and the boosters and all that, it's just regular cable. So, it's no good at this point. They're not installing them. We thought we'd have a better option for internets. I think Spectrum was what it was called. And AT&T bought them out. So it's a monopoly again. So we finally got somebody new in our area where we could dump AT&T because it's the worst service you could imagine for phones. They'll screw you over as quick as anybody else I've ever seen in my life. They were overcharging us for a while and then blamed it on us.
Yeah.
And it was just a terrible experience. They could care less about your service because you have no choice where we live.
Remember the phone company in the 70s on Saturday Night Live? They were making fun of it. Lily Tomlin was the operator.
Didn't care what the person said.
Don't care.
Don't care. Doesn't matter. You can't use anybody else.
Ma Bell. I can't even run my rotary phones. Don't work. You have to do something special to them.
I did something once. I spoke with eBay and they told me directly they wouldn't be holding them back. So it seems like eBay wouldn't have any bearing on whether they hold them or not. eBay and PayPal have no... You went too far.
Did I?
Yeah, I was...
Crap.
Yeah, eBay and PayPal don't work together. So if eBay tells you that, I wouldn't believe that. I would call PayPal and ask PayPal what they say. PayPal and eBay are not the same company. So I don't ask... PayPal and them don't even converse for the most part. Unless you have an issue, sometimes they'll do a three-way call with you too.
Carl, about the Notre Dame Cathedral.
Let's see. Let me work my way down to there. I've seen more eBay TV commercials. Oh, PayPal. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to see. That's not what it says on their update. If I would update Notre Dame, I don't buy French postcards, so I'm sure I don't have any because most don't sell. I would probably bump them up. I mean, it's supply and demand. Yeah. I don't think that's wrong. No one was hurt. It's a building. It's just they're going to rebuild it. I don't even know. It's probably been rebuilt many times as far as I would say, or at least many parts of it. Structurally, I couldn't imagine all the woods holding up the internal structure and the spiral or the tower. I can't see them not replacing that at some point anyway. eBay magazine. Oh, that's been a long time. Yeah, I do remember that. We used to get those. I think that was part of your store subscription. They used to send you an eBay magazine once a month or something, if I'm not mistaken. Hey, Sue, how are you doing tonight? She's got a channel out, too. If you get a chance, check out Sue. We've got a project that we'll be announcing with Sue, as well as Chris and a few others, and Craig. So that will be announced shortly, though. I remember it would be cool now if resellers curated a magazine like that nowadays. Yeah, I still probably have some in a box somewhere now that I think about it.
Duncan, I scan all my paper items, especially stamps.
What do you do with the stamps, Duncan? Do you put a hinge, or how do you scan a stamp? Oh, you're talking flatbed probably. Yeah, I got a duplex scanner. We do have a flatbed, but yeah, you must be talking about flatbed. You can put a whole sheet of stamps up there, scan it once, and just keep cropping from the same stamp. We've done that for stamps. That's doable because you can put like 50 stamps in one scan bed. So if it takes a little while, you do it at a very high DPI. So when you crop it down, that's what we do with stamps anyway. I'd imagine Duncan would do something similar. House of Treasures. Well, thank you very kindly. I do appreciate that. Trader Jack's, how are you doing? I always check Galaxy 5. I always check the value of stamps on my vintage postcards. Galaxy 5000, for most stamps on a postcard, you're wasting your time in all honesty. I have Geez, I can't tell you when the last time I found a stamp. You have a better luck in finding a good postmark or cancellation than you would a stamp on most postcards. In all honesty, not 99.9999% of them. And we buy postcards by the 5,000 lot on many occasions. Right now, from right here, I can see about 4,000 postcards I haven't even gone through. And I don't waste my time on stamps. It's just not worth it. You know, unless it's pre-1900 and it's something bizarre or a high dollar valued stamp, like a 20-cent stamp or something from 1890s, it's just not going to be worth it for the 1 in a billion shot in having a stamp. My personal opinion, and I've been into stamps since I was 7, I've collected stamps. We are doing a big thing on stamps in our Patreon that's just covering getting into stamps, actually. And the next one's already been shot, so those in Patreon, I already have it shot. I just have to finish editing it.
And he was talking about a punk rock magazine to do that. That's neat.
Yeah, I remember the old punk rock magazines too from the 80s.
We can call it Bolo. That's good.
Hey, Kathy, how are you doing? Yeah, sell what you know. That's always the best bet. Hopman, I will send you a private message with links to my eBay store so you can see all the... You know, I've probably seen him because we do buy some things for my son. He's with the JROTC drill and stuff, so... Yeah, you can send me that. I'd be interested in just checking it out. Hoptman.
Wubba lubba dub dub.
It's... Well, I hate to get off. The animation cell background that's behind on the wall over there.
Let me see if I can grab it.
We just got that one the other day. We've got like comic books. I got a section where all my art supplies are, and I've got comic books on the wall, like sci-fi 50s, Tom Corbett mostly, and then I've got animation stuff up there too. Scanners are definitely a way to go. It's on the wall. Yeah, we use our scanners for everything paper that will fit into it. Some of the earlier stuff I won't do it just because of the dangerousness of damaging. Yeah, that's it. Now it has a couple of the cells in it too. So this is the one we picked up. This is a separate cell. This is a separate cell. It's all hand painted. It's got registration marks. It's got the animation platen whole lines up on the top as well too. So, and I've been in the animation department. I actually worked and did some mural work for them. Unfortunately, it's green, but I didn't think about that. But so it's kind of disappearing. But the background sky is like a yellowish green. Anyway, I got a couple other ones from the same place, but that kind of stuff goes up on the wall. I've got art stuff all on the wall in a back section. We put sports cards definitely go in the scanner. We have the Epson. I think it's the DS510. And that one you can put sports cards in too. I put them in there just fine. I just adjust the thickness on the scanner to thick. Turning $1 in anything is always good. $1 into $10 is a good profit. The real world, like a grocery store, their profit margin is pennies. You know, like 3 cents on the dollar if they're lucky. And sometimes it's not even that high.
Oh, what are you drinking tonight? Just tea.
Yeah, I've got unsweetened iced tea.
I ran out of liquor.
Yvette, I never see postcards in my area, and our town has one antique shop and no flea markets. Occasionally estate sales, but have to drive an hour or more to get to towns that have any of these. There might be a local, not necessarily local, but an auction that has like a big regional sales. Those would be what you'd probably want to be looking for in my book. Not knowing your area. Around here, there's enough places to find postcards pretty much any day of the week. I can go on a Sunday to 2 or 3 stores that are open that'll have, you know, a varied selection of postcards. And the postcard assortment changes. Almost monthly they'll have new postcards. So, you know, there's a certain day of the week I usually go in. Yes, I do Discogs as well. I've been doing Discogs for 6 years, 7 years, something like that. Beatology. I'm sure that's related to the Beatles, I would imagine. Maybe not. But...
Or the beat scene.
Yeah, it could be.
Dig it, man.
Rotten Groton. If you switch to the new system, will it let you switch back? No, from what I understand. But we're going to have to switch anyway. It's our other store. Most of it's wholesale and big deals. So, and I've already emailed most of the people that I was worried about. So I'm going to shoot it over on our other store.
I was laughing about Duncan's comment.
Not necessarily, Duncan there. I look at my scar occasionally, and I don't have to worry about somebody telling me I've got a permanent example of why I don't like spiders.
Photography.
Well, I don't do anything outside photography. It's all inside. We got light tables, light boards. I got a light booth inside with screening, sheets, mufflers, everything. So it's just like being outside. I mean, there's no sense in it. I can adjust it anyway. I've got a stand for my camera, so it's up 24/7. Anytime I want to walk up and take a picture, I can just set it there and I'm done. It takes 2 seconds to start it. My camera's always plugged in. I've got an extra Nikon D5300 that's literally sitting on a stand right now. We actually have 2 places to take photographs because we've got employees, so we constantly have it inside. I would never want to worry about moving stuff outside personally. Nothing wrong if that's what you do, but if you have a good camera and it has light adjustments for the type of lighting, you can get whatever quality you want inside as long as it's like a photo booth basically. So
Galaxy 5000. Don't be nude when you take pics of your toaster.
yeah, reflection.
I don't know, or do it.
Going Bitcoin,
go for
how
it.
you doing? Postcard guy, how are you doing? We sell postcards. I probably sell a half a dozen every day of the week, at minimum. Every day of the week in postcards. Every day of the year, probably, I would say that much.
And he's giving a little advice there. Reflection listings.
Yeah, we've got a filter. I always have a filter on my camera, Amazon. I know you're giving out some advice, Seller 99. I've got a UV and a couple other filters that we do pop on. So I completely agree with you on the filters can eliminate that issue. As long as the lighting's right, you can get away with it too. Angle your lights. We've got, I guess they'd be called like it's a homemade barn door basically, and then a gating for the face of and it literally just blocks the reflection coming off. We've played around with chrome stuff for years.
Right here.
Wow. Is eBay changing listings? My buy it now suddenly have best offer. There's a button, so if you were listing and you didn't pay attention, they've been making it like auto fill in for that radio button. So, if you don't unclick it sometimes, it's going to just automatically put it in there. And if you use sell similar, everyone after that first one's going to have that same option in there. So we do everything as buy it now with best offer. All you got to do is decline it if you don't want it. So, everything I do is best offer with a bin. And that's where we do most of our business.
Yeah.
I mean, and we do a lot and sell it higher than most everybody else, the majority of our items. So,
and if I'm looking for something, I always go to the buy it now.
yeah, I don't care. I'm not going to wait for an auction anymore. We don't buy much offline other than stuff we use. And, I don't want to mess with an auction.
Yeah.
And that's what most people think these days. That's why auctions aren't as popular anymore. We do have some items that I'll just do buy it now without a best offer if it's cheaper stuff. I'm not going to go down on like a $5.99 card or something like that.
You take 25 cents for
People
that?
will do that. I'll offer you $1 for it. I just don't have that option in the ones I don't want, the low dollar ones, and that's the only ones. And if I want to get rid of them, I'll do like a 10% discount marketing. I'm not going to pay eBay for that. That's one of our own marketing ones, though.
That's the auction house.
Yeah, I would go with the one on Tested. I don't know that one at all. I know the one on Tested. We have one of their catalogs somewhere. Go to Adam Savage's Tested for that. I'm sure we're just behind on the comments. But
you're behind. Prop store.
That might be the one, Prop Store, Chris. Yeah. It's Adam Savage's Tested has it on there. Norm talks to them, and they always have the people come in there with items from the auction, so you get to see all the equipment and stuff from the movies.
Ooh. Rolex dead stock.
Mighty Mushroom. Yeah, old watch bands and stuff sell very well. Even the little crown winders from the Rolex watches sell. We sold one of those, and it came in a big junk bag, and it was authentic. We got couple $100, I want to say, maybe for it. Hang on, where are we at? Insane. Yeah, we sell records, just records on Discogs. We sell CDs on Amazon. Hey, Sharon, how are you doing? Welcome aboard. Project Mercury stamps, no, those are just common as can be. I wouldn't. That has no value. That's too new. I don't. And most of the stamps that are worth money are going to be one color or just two colors and drab colors, basically. Nothing bright or beautiful.
My dream find would be a
Cartier
Cartier bracelet.
bracelet.
Ooh, yeah.
We found Tiffany bracelets, but
Yep.
those aren't anything special. We
No,
found quite
they
a
were
few
just the
sterlings.
sterling silver.
Still got $100 profit out of them, but
Yep.
still. Yeah, Halloween postcards sell well. The best Santa Claus you can get is Uncle Sam dressed as Santa Claus, and it's a hold to the light. That's like a $1,200 postcard.
We also had a postcard that was a yellow moon with a black cat, and it was Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
and
they got all
think
kinds
that
of weird
it
ones.
would be a Halloween, but it was not.
The best Santa Clauses we sell, the blue's good, purple's good, green's good,
yellow.
brown, yellow coat Santas, but the best one you want is Uncle Sam as Santa Claus. I've been selling postcards for most of my life. I buy them when we were on.
Dang it.
Now you did it. Now look what you did.
This is why I need liquor.
Here, that's fine. We're right there. Are ship and bridge postcards worthwhile? Bridges, not so much. It depends on the ship. How about linen
Yosemite
postcards?
and
Redwood linen cards, no. And Yosemite, no as well, too. Pass on both of those.
One of these days, we'll make it out to the Redwood Forest.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind going there one day. Postcards go first class with tracking. I charge the actual weight, 3 ounces for all postcards. It can be as high as $4.09 to California from where I live. That's what they pay. I don't care if it's a $3 postcard. They're paying first class with tracking. I keep my top rated seller plus status with tracking only. So I still sell a ton. I sell half a dozen minimum. There's been days when we've sold 30 or 40 postcards in one day for top dollar. So
By the way, to
hang
everyone
on, I didn't
new
get the far
here.
down yet.
Ah.
Yeah, first class with tracking for everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm usually behind. Thanks, Chris. He's being honest. That's true. I'll take the heat on that one. If it's a real photo postcard, just get a loop out. You're not going to see any dots. It's going to be an actual photo. I mean, literally what a photo is. No dots, no printing marks, nothing. It's actually a gloss photo. You know, that's the difference. I've got a video on that, Carl, too. You went too far.
No, that's it.
I don't know what Carl said. Carl's totally off the screen.
I thought you could read that.
Not when it's off the screen.
Nah, you have psychic powers.
Oh, thanks, Craig. Yeah, hit the like button. I know I always forget to tell everybody that. That's just a bad thing. Chris is telling you, too, the jeweler's loop. I know we're way behind. Yeah, those are halftones, what you're looking for, halftone dots. I used to use a daylighter, which was a halftone camera for a magazine I used to work for that did home stuff. Yeah, the white lettering is actually somebody scratching into the actual plate, the negative, and that leaves the lettering there. It leaves a hole, basically, in it.
I was just reading Thrift Shop Hustler's comment.
Yeah, matchbooks just don't. I don't mess with matchbooks unless they're complete, as I said. Meredethy, how you doing? I used to collect matchbooks. That good one there, Chris. A real photo will be.
I gotta go.
Okay.
My
nose from the dogs
dog.
down here.
Yeah, I'm allergic to him.
Well, thank you very kindly, Carl. Carl for the super chat, $10. Thank you very kindly, Carl. Carl is one of our Patreons, too. Now, I can't get you off there. How do I get that off? I don't know about everybody else's feed, but mine is just all over the place. Thanks again, Carl. I honestly do appreciate that. Yeah, and Annie's got an explanation, too. I do have a video literally on that. Real photo postcards can be glossy and they can be matte, or sometimes they can just look like a non-photo. There's also blue photos that are, what's the name? Cyanotypes, which is basically a style of photograph. And it's not technically... It's going to look more like a printing card, but it doesn't have dots. And there's actually I can't remember what the red ones are called, too, but cyanotypes are blue. The whole image looks like a blue photo, and then there's red ones, too. I very rarely get the red ones, but I've had a couple. I've got one right now, actually, but the blue cyanotypes I also look for, too, because they're basically real photos, and most people do miss those. Yeah, Mike, you can group them together. I just don't have the patience to do groups. I just like being able to take one photo of an item and be done. And most of the time when I find them, they've cut off the striker. I literally, as I said, I had a whole bunch I could have bought today, and if you saw how much inventory we have, I don't have to source for a long time, and I don't want to be buying more bulk like that anyway. I mean, we sell matchbooks, don't get me wrong. I've got a few complete packs over there, but
We would never make it in a tiny house
yeah,
community.
it wouldn't work. Yeah, I get Mike's perfectly right. If you sell them in lots, I just don't want to mess with lots like that, because then I got to take like 5 or 6 photos, and I'm getting 20. If I can get something that I can get 20 on, one item and not have to mess with a lot, like a card or something. I mean, I guess it's getting lazy. I don't want to have to mess with it, since we got a couple of those the same Epson scanners, so I can have people scanning and doing stuff all day long nowadays.
Where are you? Still behind? Oh.
No, almost. Well, yeah, I'm sure we're still behind. What kind of photographs bring big money? Baseball is probably one of the top ones. I do better with real photo postcards than I do with actual photos, depending on the photo, of course. Earlier the better. Military, I think you went to. Oh, okay, you're fine. I'm sorry. Annie, I was just thinking about how the town I grew up in had someone dead's huge matchbook collection under glass in the town hall. I wonder if it's still there. Yeah, I've seen that. Our local library has like collectibles all the time. What?
Duncan.
I'll get down to it in a minute. What kind of work did you do at Disney? I started off as a regular employee, lead, and then assistant manager. I did artwork. She did. She did foods. Guest relations,
vacation planner and guest relations.
Yeah, and she used to escort like the famous people around, and then she did tickets and vacation planning services for people there too. We got a 10-year pension, both of us. We just actually got the paperwork in for the what do you want to call it? Our taxes. Well, not just. It's been a couple of weeks, but
I got to walk around with John Travolta and his wife, and it was when, oh gosh, Jet, I forgot how old Jet was, and then their daughter.
Didn't one of their kids die or something?
Jet.
Yeah. We got video of the kid too, so. Let's see here, where are we at?
Yeah, the wet paint signs are cool.
You've seen them, it sounds like, Chris. Yeah, I don't know if they've changed them, but it was literally Donald Duck with a paintbrush and paint all over him and stuff. And the background of it's a bright, like a yellowish orange that just, you can't miss it.
Yeah.
We had dozens of them all the time.
Duncan, please, no Disney horror stories. Missing fingers.
Well, thank you, TNT Pickers. Scott's a good guy. We got a project with Scott as well.
I've got a few other horror stories.
Yeah, I won't give you any horror stories today. We'll wait till Halloween, and I'll give you we'll give you some death-defying horror stories there.
Oh, right there.
I tried to copy. Yeah, you can't. Legally wise, Retro Dottie, you cannot copy a photo that somebody else took from World War II. Most people will not want a reproduction for the most part, because I sell the originals. I've got hundreds of original ones. You can check my store and look under the military section. We got 400 or 500 original World War II plane photos and stuff up right now, and I got a couple hundred more to list. You got to list those in the reproduction section as well too. There is a reproduction section in World War II section. And with that, the person who took that photo has to be dead for 80 years for you to legally be able to sell that photo. And I believe it's still 80 years. So if the person took it in 1942, they died in 75 or something, you got to wait 80 more years from 1975 to be able to legally do something with that photo. If it's pre like 1920, I think, or somewhere in that range, most of that's still open and you can do stuff with. So there are some that you can do stuff in reproductions, but I don't do reproductions on stuff like that for the most part at all, unless I own or was given the rights by the family. And in some cases we bought from estate sale, and I was able to get permission and a letter certified and the whole works, legally signed off, notarized and the whole works, letter to say I can do that. But yeah, matches do sell, so don't get me wrong. As I said, we've sold some matchbooks, single matchbooks, for over 100, but for the most part, the ones that sell for the most amount of money are going to be full, complete, or feature matches. Look up feature matchbooks, as I said. Those are the ones you want. Those are the ones I've made the most money on every time I have found one. INP. No matter how much I put in, sales are slow. Good sales are offset by days of little to no sales. Oddly, I'm almost always selling to people in the same 5 to 6 states. Have no. You're going to sell to California is like one of the ones. And yeah, I would say it's by population. Look up the top 5 or 6 states you're selling to and look up their population, where they fall in the grouping for all of the states. And you're going to find out that California is on the top of the list. New York's usually on there. There's many states like that I can pretty much tell you where most of my items go to. I sell to probably 15 states religiously, more than any other states around. So that's what you're going to see.
And this one on the Goodwill.
Yeah, it's tough to find anything at Goodwill these days. You saw I found only a couple things. Again, I found this for $2 that somebody couldn't sell for $5 that's worth $30. I can get $30 out of it. And then the pantyhose again.
Yeah.
Paid $1, I can get $30 out of this. So we paid for lunch, we paid for gas, and we made like $10 or $15. So
my dad, I needed pantyhose when I was in senior high, and my dad has no idea about sizes, and he just grabbed a pair of pantyhose, and they were queen size, and I could wear them like a bodysuit.
Well, you wouldn't need a bodysuit then.
Like, thanks, Dad.
Parents aren't supposed to know that. Rick Duke, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Another Patreon. If I finally found a lot of 81 Valentine cards from the early tournaments, how would I post them for...
The Valentine cards?
Hang on, where are we?
Right here.
How would I post them for you to best educate us on them? I do have a video on actual cards, on Valentine's cards. As a Patreon, you can post them on the community page on there, a few pictures if you'd like, and I'll be more than happy to give you some full-fledged advice on all of them. I will be on Patreon tomorrow. As I said last week, Thursdays is the one day I don't do much on social media. It's just I'm busy all day long, and I hauled and did some picks today, so I'm not even touching anything. We're going to sit back and relax and watch a show that we usually watch on Thursday nights.
See, that's how far you're behind. This poor person is lost.
Is that chat match? Yeah, I'm way behind, yeah. I try to answer every question. I guess that's my thing. And I know a lot of people just answer some of them. I try to go right down. So if you got a real pressing question, you can put it in the comment section below or join my Facebook group and hit it up there. I will be on Facebook in the morning as well, too.
You want me to slide down more?
Yeah, I'm not sure if Rick's talking about, yeah, you're fine. Let's see here. I'm trying to catch up to see where we're at.
Just right here.
Yvette lives near a settlement. Yeah, everybody knows who's been on knows that I'm terrible on getting. I do answer every question though. I go start to finish from top to bottom. We're looks like we might be catching up if my chat's right.
Probably not.
Did you get into reselling business with a broad range of knowledge, or did you start with a niche category to seek out? I've been into collectibles and vintage toys, and I went to garage sales with my mom since I was 7. So Major Matt Madison, we used to find the 60s toys and G.I. Joes and Micronauts and Star Wars, and I've been selling stuff since I was 7. Used to do drawings of Star Wars characters in like 78 and sell them to classmates for a nickel a quarter. Used to draw Kiss characters for a nickel or a quarter. Used to get toys at garage sales and sell them to friends or swap them to friends to get a couple of something else and then turn around and swap that. We had free toys when I was a kid because I could do that. So I've always done something with vintage. We've always had, I collected comic books, so I knew comic books. I was given my father's stamp collection when I was 7. So over 40 years, I've messed with stamps. I like coins. My father had a huge coin collection. He was a car buff. He used to fix up old cars. I worked in food, so I know all the foods, equipment and stuff. And I do artwork, so I'm into art supplies and artwork. So, I mean, you add on the longer you do something. I started off, basic information. So my first item I ever sold on eBay was a 8mm Star Wars film. We just sold as a lark. Didn't even know much about eBay. Said, what the heck? Didn't cost us anything. So, I've been reselling since I was 7.
Annie. about Neiman Marcus.
Oh, wow, that's kind of weird. I actually had a art deal with Neiman Marcus at one point where we were doing some artwork that they would put on for actual decorators and stuff. So I've dealt with Neiman Marcus on a business professional standpoint.
From Utah.
Waxaw Wonder, how are you doing? And yes, hi from Utah. Teresa, how are you doing? Thank you very kindly.
You want me to slide down?
Yeah. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate that.
I love that Viagra pin. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
that's
we get.
awesome.
She picks up all that
oh,
stuff
I would
there.
love to have one of those. I love the whole medical stuff. I just love it.
Do I do CDs? Yes. Have a cleaner. I don't mess with bad CDs. They have to look nice as well to start with, Sharon. Wholesale is the best for CDs. I sell CDs on Amazon. I'm ungated on CDs in 2 sections. I can sell new CDs with full-fledged barcode scanning, and because we got wholesale receipts. And then I can also sell the vintage collectible ones in the vintage entertainment section as well, too. There's 2 sections to sell CDs on Amazon, and I can sell them both. So I sell most CDs on Amazon because I do get more money on Amazon than I do on eBay. eBay CD prices is just about the same to throw them in a big lot. That's about the best rate I get, unless it's like something like... well, I'm not going to give you out a bolo on that one today, but there's specifics you can sell.
Galaxy 5000. Talking about syringes because he works in the pharmacy.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with syringes personally, but, there's nothing wrong with them as long as... I think you have to have a permit in some states or have some kind of script or something. I could be wrong, but...
My mom was a nurse. We always had syringes.
Yeah, my mom was a nurse, too, so we always had syringes. We had a diabetic dog when I was a child, and so we had syringes all the time around the house. So
my dad was allergic to the pine trees, and we lived in Mississippi, and so he had to get injections weekly.
Postcard guy, yeah, they come to our house and pick up. They knock on the door. I don't leave any packages sitting out. I'm sure you probably mean they come to your front door and knock, but they knock at my door every day and they pick up at our place. If we're working at the storage place, we have them pick up there as well too. So
that's the one that you were just...
Yeah. Hey, Aaron, how are you doing? I saw you on there. I meant to call you out earlier. Sorry, Aaron. When do you have to schedule a pickup and what are the cutoff times? We schedule them a year or 2 in advance. You just sign up online. You can pay your P.O. box and everything all online. You just go online and you can do schedule a pickup. I think the cutoff point's like 2 a.m. 24 hours in advance, if I'm not mistaken. But we block them off for a year in advance or more. So at December 31st, I always know I need to reset up that list again. Every year, though, I do it for a whole year. I'll mark them all off. You can highlight a month at a time. It just takes a few moments, literally on the U.S. Post Office's site. I've done that forever.
Annie, she has amazing 80s Madonna crucifix earrings. That's awesome. Another thing that I used to have, and now they're kind of a collector's item, I guess. It's the 1980s purses. The artist is Jerry the Cat. Has nothing to do with cats, but it's usually women dressed as sailors drinking 7-Up on purses.
Oh, I've seen them. Yeah, you've had a bunch of those.
I had the beach.
Yeah.
The
it's
beach
a whole set
bag
of them.
and stuff. And those things, you can't find them anymore. And I went to eBay to see if I could buy the one that I used to have. And I can't afford it now. Damn it.
Try, Annie, putting that in the entertainment section under the Madonna. That might be a good plus in something like that, Annie. I do that for like an Elvis thing. I put sometimes, I know it's technically not legit, but sometimes I'll put something like a comic book statue in the comic book section or something related to an Elvis concert in the record section. And usually I get some hits on it that way, just because I'm the only one selling that item. And if they're an Elvis collector, it can be a plus for you. Same with the Madonna stuff there. And you should be okay to put something like that in the collectibles section for Madonna. Just don't put official Madonna or anything like that, I would say.
I'd like to see the earrings, though.
Yeah, she'd probably like them.
And it just...
Yeah, you need to go back up. Hang on, our chat's gone again. Hang on, I think. Nope, we still need to go up farther. Yeah, still way off.
You are way behind then, man. Oh, yep. See, we're right there.
Okay, now we're catching up. We'll
I'm
stay
not gonna
on for a
touch
little
that
while.
thing.
Our feed just disappears. We still got a little while. We'll talk. I'll see if I can't get to some
Yeah,
more
you
here.
need to turn up.
Glad to have you, Sean J. RA is retail arbitrage. Yeah, you're not going to become well, you can become a millionaire on Amazon.
All you need to do is sell one thing for $1 million.
Then you're a millionaire, yeah. It's just that all you got to do is sell 10 pairs of something every single day of the week. It's just that easy, and you're going to be a millionaire. I love the people here on YouTube that just tell you all you got to do is sell 20 pairs of this or 20 of that or 20 of this, and you're going to be fine. There's no one on here that should take that kind of talk seriously. There's no guarantee you're going to sell anything online. There's no guarantee you're going to be able to sell 20 of anything every day of the week. There are some hot items on Amazon that we do sell, a ton a day, but, they're hot, top 100 or top 1,000 items, in that cat.
Do you sell vintage leather buttons, and how do you sell them?
Leather buttons would be in a lot. They just aren't big sellers for the most part. We do sell vintage buttons. Mostly military, transportation buttons sell the best. Leather buttons will semi-sell, but you're going to have to put them in a lot for sure. And you're not going to get a ton of money. $10, $15 for 20. Probably about that for 20 leather buttons. Thank you, Rusted Raccoon. How are you doing? Let's whip down.
I'll try.
We're going to try swinging down. Okay, Duncan. I was watching somebody else's channel, and they were from Australia, and I didn't know it at first. He talked later on, so I didn't see it, but he was pushing a spider out of the way. And I'm like, boy, that looks like a weird spider for around here. And sure enough, he was from Australia. I think it was a modeler's show or a sculpture show, I think maybe. I watch a lot of art things lately. Yeah, woven leather. I think Annie's talking about like a basket weaving kind of leather. Those are the ones I think she's maybe talking about. Stick it to you 10. Well, thank you.
The sweaters that sell. Oh shoot, the
Hip-hop.
dude. The
the dude sweater from the Big Lebowski. We had one that had a freaking hole in it, and I got $75 for it with a big hole, and the person was happy.
And we got lucky because it was at that little thrift store.
I think we paid $1 or something for it too. And
then our son wanted to dress up as the dude for
And
Halloween, and we already sold it.
Hey, Pat D's, how are you doing? Pat D's 72. He's got a good channel out there too. You're fine, Pat. Slide down if you want to crop creative business up. Not sure the Real. There's actually somebody's channel, I think, called The Real, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it's The Real Realist.
I'm glad my dog is right here by me and itching my nose.
How you doing?
Now.
A couple of pickers. Wubba lubba dub dub.
Yeah.
It does look like Powerpuff Girls. That's what I thought. We've got probably most of them laying around in a box somewhere because our kids had them all.
Oh, they love the Powerpuffs. Our boys. Well, they were young. Yeah, 4.
Yeah. Cassette tapes, you got to be careful with cassette tapes. If they're dirt cheap, I'll mess with them. Heavy metal always sells for us on cassette tapes. And so does old school rap and random rap, compilations from cities and things like that go. So I've messed with cassettes for a long time.
You want me to slide down a little bit more?
Yeah, I haven't had any issues with PayPal cases at all.
Oh, punk rock fanzines.
Yeah, cropped Galaxy 5000. Yeah, I crop down everything. I don't just do that for postcards these days. I'll do comics. I'll do anything. I call it a zoom in. You're just literally cropping it down to the main part. Most of our listings these days are geared to the ability to list on Amazon. So with Amazon, 85% of your picture has to be the item itself and nothing else. And all the background has to be white. We know somebody who was who was would have been kicked off if they did it again on Amazon just for pictures. And we actually know somebody who did get a cease notice stating that they were going to be they deactivated their business account on Amazon because they kept putting bad photos up. Amazon will boot you for not having good photos, so that's part of the reason we're not going full steam into Sellbrite until I get all my stuff fixed up. I'd hate to miss a couple and have them posted and have some issues with it.
I gotta take the dog out.
That's fine. He's all frisky too.
Come on.
Our dog's over here.
Come on, buddy.
Let's see here. Speaking of punk rock fanzines, I had one and have found 2 copies for sale online for $400 each. Yep, the punk rock magazines, fanzines. In fact, I've got a video on my tentative list on fanzines because we buy fanzines of everything. Comic books, Doctor Who ones. I've sold a bunch of those recently. Star Trek fanzines. Any of that stuff sells very well. Sharon Discogs is a site that sells. You can sell records and media type like that. There's CDs and stuff on there as well too. Tracy, well, thank you very kindly. I do appreciate that. David Pastor, how you doing? I get to Michigan quite often. We've got relatives just over in Michigan over the border. Yeah, Annie's already answered the Discogs. Thank you, Annie. Clearwater. We used to go to Clearwater all the time. We stayed at in Dunedin on Alternate 19 near Honeymoon Island. I'm sure you know where that's at if you're in that area. Clearwater is awesome. We used to go to Safety Harbor, and I think it's the Sand Pebble Inn we stayed at, and it was right there on the water. I think that's their Sand Dollar Inn, maybe that's what it was. But we used to go all over there. We used to go to Honeymoon Island, and Kikino Beach was one of our favorites before they built that all up in there. Used to love going to that coast, the west coast of Florida. It's awesome around there. Waters were so nice. When the wind was blowing, the sand was so white over there on Kikino Beach from all the seashells that it looked like snow getting blown across the road in Florida. It's really neat. Yeah, thrash, heavy metal sells. Any of the hairband stuff, any of that stuff sells. I love that type of music as well as, so much other stuff. I like classical even. I have no problem with, Beethoven or something along that line. Yeah, if it was a whole box of demos, Annie, he'd have something there if they were good ones. Yeah, Uncle Sam postcards are good. As I said, the best Santa Claus one I have ever seen sell was Uncle Sam as Santa Claus, and all the stars on his outfit actually were Hold to the Light as well, to HTL. And it sold for well over $1,200. Well, thank you, Teresa W. I appreciate that very kindly. I will refer that to the wife as well, too. Real photo postcards do the best. Train stations. Baseball is always the best. Baseball, real photos. Babe Ruth baseball postcard, real photo postcard, went for like $300,000, I think was the price on that. I've got a video actually up on that from a couple months back. Let's see if we can't get to some more. I don't actually have to get up early tomorrow. My son is off for Easter vacation, so I only have one kid to worry about tomorrow, and he's got his own thing going, so I don't really have to do much tomorrow. How do you know if a Tiffany bracelet is authentic? I've seen a bunch of them. It's a sterling one. We run it. There's some sales here that have jewelry $2 a piece, as much as you can buy, and there's like 100,000 pieces of jewelry. They have them like every 3 months. It's like a church group. I found dozens of those types of bracelets, and they're brand new. They're like $150 to $160. We sell them used for about $100. So it's nothing special on those. You can usually tell by the tag that came with it, honestly. There's a hanging heart-shaped tag with most of the Tiffany pieces that I've seen. The earlier ones are marked more deeply than the fake ones, too. All pre-recorded, so that would be a good thing. I picked up a bunch of stamps from Cape of Good Hope the other day, Duncan. Early Queen Vic stamps on them. Probably circa 1870-ish, I would say. Quite a few of them, too. How you doing, Charles Lowe? Let's see if we can't swap down here. Yeah, see, cyanotypes, as we were talking about before, I can't remember the red ones, but cyanotypes I always look for. They're all blue. It's like a monotone photo. Mike throws 6 to 10 in a scanner one shot. I hadn't thought about that. The flatbeds just seem to take so long. Have you ever have any IP issues with selling photographs? If the photographs are old and I'm not reproducing the photographs, it's an original photograph. No one can tell you can't sell an original piece. You can't market it as your own. You can't do anything else like that. But I have never in my life had an issue with selling something like that. As a person, we own copyrights. I own a trademark. Well, we own a couple trademarks, but having, this knowledge on it and having talked to even patent attorneys at this point in my career, I'm very careful on what we do and don't do with photos. I've got some photos here that we're going to reproduce because they're 1800s photos. So, pre-1920ish you can mess with. I can show movie clips from 1920s movies even, believe it or not. So, and there's commercials. There's a lot of public domain information and things that you can do, but you just got to be careful. Okay, so Annie's saying it's the same basic thing. They call them something, Annie, in the postcard, and I wish I could remember what the red ones were called, but there's actually a name I've seen written down, and it's probably in one of my postcard books, but... And I've seen the brown ones, too. We have video of the kid. Yeah, I wouldn't say that either, yeah. The crazy card. Do you do videos at any... I've actually got a video on figuring out how to tell real photos on postcards. Just FYI, I've got 2 real in-depth just on postcards. Yeah, just a blue photo on standard paper, non-glossy. You can't sell anything of Cuba, just FYI. There's still an embargo. You might run into some issues with the Cuba if you put that in there, just FYI. You couldn't put the word Cuba in there at all. Mezzano blue. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, I haven't had any issues with PayPal, but we in the past we've been scammed or somebody used my card. PayPal took care of it every time. How do you catalog your photographs or postcards? When I get them in, they're sorted by when I want to list them and what type of material they are. So I don't catalog what I get in other than keeping track of the cost. And then, as I showed before, once they're listed, they just go in these bins here. So, and I got like 70 of these bins with cards in them. I probably got about 40 bins with, unlisted cards too. And then the rest are huge mass stacks of them. But, this is all we do. Again, it's just a little card. And these are special cards. They're divider cards for postcards. Buy them off eBay. And literally that's about all there is to it. They just go in these bins and I look them up from here. I can pull any card out of 25,000 plus items in just the one store in a matter of a minute or so or less. Any card I own. So, we number every bin. I've got a video on storage as well. And I got a new one we shot. I just haven't put it up. I think we've got 14 videos that are already shot that have not been uploaded at all. Just because I keep changing the order on what I want to have up at one specific time. Just because I'll get something in and then I'll get that in my head. I got ADD and OCD like bad, so sometimes I'll just be on a nut craze and have to put out a video on something. Annie is a world of good information too, so. Yeah, Landshark Picker's talking about when you see prices. I knew right off the bat on this one here that it was a garage sale price up there, and there's the other price there. I don't mind. It's a good swap around for me. Rocky Brook, how are you doing? Pizza time. I can't eat pizza anymore. I can't eat cheese because of pancreatic enzyme issues. Yeah, I don't know if I'd go to a concert anymore these days, Carl. I've been to my share of KISS concerts in the past, but These days, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too old, and I'd feel weird at a concert. I mean, we've been to some orchestras, the Toledo Orchestra here before too, but. Yeah, the cyanotypes can be blue on paper. I do have a few of those in-house, but they wouldn't be at an angle. If they're on paper, that's just the glisten from the emulsion on a standard photo if it's turning blue. Some of the photos will have I call it solarizing, when the photo has like a rainbowish effect on it, kind of with a blue tint to it. Yeah, that's exact. It's solarizing, I call it. I don't know if that's the technical. Yeah, Annie says solarized. That's what I've always called it. Yeah, it's an issue with the actual chemicals breaking down of some sort, from what I understand. Take it easy, Chris. Hang on, now we've lost it again. Mozart's fine too. I saw that in there. Yeah, let me see if I can't pop to some questions. Yeah, with I think Aaron's talking about the year. I schedule mine pickup. We sell every day. I send out a ton of stuff, and I've got 3 bins sitting over here now. Nobody should think about how much somebody else mails out. That has no factor in what you're doing. I could sell one item and make $1 million, as we were talking about earlier. So who cares how many items one sells? We do sell a lot of items. I just always have something going out there. It hasn't been a day in probably 7 years that I haven't had multiple packages going out every day. And UPS picks up here too, as well as FedEx. So, I've got 3 pickups a day, and sometimes I still have to run to the post office if something high dollar comes in or something like that. Or it's a typical customer. I try to get stuff out in the mail if they ask. So, Yeah, 2 a.m. the night before. I knew it was something like that. Jolly good merch. With Native American arrowheads, you cannot sell them to several states, so you got to be 100% careful. And even if you could sell them, you're going to have a letter of provenance or some proof that you are in legal possession of a lot of these. I know people still sell them without that, but I know personally people who have been arrested for selling Native American items. My wife's family has Native American heritage. In part of the family, and we've been into selling arrowheads for years. So you got to be very careful at selling anything Native American these days. Angela, how do I know number? I just put in 10 for everything. It doesn't ask you for weight or anything on it. It's just this quantity of packages, and I always put in 10. That's why we ran into an issue once before when I filled up their truck. And they said, if you ever get something like that, you darn well better call us. Otherwise we're not going to pick it up. I just put in a random amount. It doesn't matter. I don't use the phone either. I just do it online, and all you do is put a check in a box. That's it. That's all you got to do. Don't do the phone one. Just go online. If you don't have an account with the post office, get yourself an account, because you can do other stuff with that account too. So, we've got several post office boxes for different aspects. So we do everything online for the post office. Yeah, I don't know about what you're saying, but I just do it online, and there's a report printed off every morning. I've never had to worry about it, no matter who was delivering the mail that day. Bront Poly. Yeah, I mean, there may be no rules on syringes. I have no clue on that, but I know some of the medical supplies these days are limited, and with some of the drug-related issues with syringes, I know they had some issues. Sell 1 million $5 items and you're rich. Yeah, yep. Thanks, Craig. Yeah, please hit the like button if you haven't. Again, I try to answer every question. I know I get behind on it, but there's no dumb questions, and everybody has the right to get them answered. If you want to get something, show up early in the feed, and usually I'm able to catch up the first few right off the bat. Meredith, well, thank you very kindly. I appreciate it. Yeah, I told you should sell that, Annie. You should see what they go for. Some of those do go for some crazy money. Yeah, Honeymoon Island was good. When we went to Honeymoon Island, for those of you who don't know, it's a nice area in Florida. It's actually like a state park. There were dolphins out in the water all the time. You could see live sand dollars and live sea anemones out there. We used to love going over there. One of your recent videos, you overcrop your first pick like postcards instead of the whole postcard as the first photo. Is there a reason, and would you recommend this for clothing? I don't do it for anything but paper items, just because you're not seeing the good part of it. Most postcards have like a good spot on it, and that's going to draw them into it. I can promise you, doing those zoom ins where you center in on something on a photo or a postcard or anything like that will increase your sales 100%. I can promise you. It's not going to mean every item's going to sell, but your sell through rate on items that you do that to versus ones that you have a distant shot of don't sell as much. The ones with the zoom in always sell. My competitor did that, and I've been watching the other people who sell similar items for years now. They switched over everything, and it helps with Amazon too. So I don't just list most of these items anymore on just eBay. So I've got more interest in cross-listing them and having certain types of photos too. Do you just vintage album jackets sell? Like if the record is no good. It depends on the jacket. Yes, some of them do. We have sold just jackets for like Blue Note records for, 50, 60, $70. Some of the DSM covers, which is an artist's initials on some of the early jazz records, can sell for 50, $60 for an empty LP record. Because usually you can find a good record sometimes and the sleeve's damaged. Just like 45 record sleeves sell as well too. How you doing, CJ Spino, if I pronounced that right? Hang on. Dave the Wave, hello. Samir, how do you sort your postcards by country or theme or something else? Before I sell them, I sort them by, like if they're all Halloween goes in one area, all Christmas goes in another, all states go in another, or if it's a big town locally, I put them in a separate area. And list like items in the same day. So if I had 50 Detroit postcards, I'd try to list them all on the very same day. I'm not changing categories. It's just clicking sell similar and boom, 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 boom. It's really quick. Once they're listed, I could care less what bin they're in. All I do is have the bin number and the listing, and then I pull from that bin. So it doesn't matter at all once they're listed, as long as I've got a bin number and it's in that bin. I've seen Tool in concert before. Actually, Regina, I have a video on inventory too. If you look in my how-to playlist and type in inventory, you should find it. I have a new one coming out though, so it's going to be an updated version with some better hints and ideas on where to get some of the material and the best way to store certain items as well. Handmade straw hats. I have sold a few, but I don't know much about those. Oh, there goes my feet again. Photos can solarize from degradation, or if they aren't fixed. Yeah, if they're not the fix. I actually worked for did the yearbook and newspaper staff for my high school, and we actually back in the day had to develop our own photos for it. We'd take the photos, develop them, we'd crop them mechanically on the actual page layouts and the whole works. So yeah, if you don't develop them properly, they will solarize. That I know. It's something to do with the silver oxide or something. I don't remember the terminology, but we did all that by hand. We had the dark room. We'd have to take them out of the camera in pitch black and the red light and the whole works. You can get free boxes shipped from the post office. Yeah, you can get free boxes shipped. We don't do the post office boxes because 99% of the items that I ship out go first class or they're going in a box, and I don't pay for shipping. I charge for every shipping piece. So with the shipping that we charge, basically I charge full rate, whatever the post office says it charges. I get a discount from eBay, and I do not pass it on. That discount covers my fees that I pay for my final value fees on my shipping charges, and it covers my shipping supplies. So basically, I don't pay a dime for any of my shipping supplies, my sleeves for the postcards, any of the boxes or anything. I don't pay a dime for them. Like with the boxes that I do buy, they're 82 cents for one, and I can mail 16 postcards for that same 82 cents. And of course, I'm not paying for those either. So, plus I get free boxes from eBay, but I usually just get the 6x9 poly bags from eBay these days with all of my money. So we basically get, it's like $300 worth of free shipping supplies, and we get all poly bags with those. Mostly 6x9s, but I do get the 9x12s as well from eBay, the freebies that we get with our anchor stores. What are some good used hand tools to look for at a yard sale? I know most of the brands, but what tools? Planers, vices, stud finders, levels. It depends on the brand and the version. There's some expensive levels. There's some expensive stud finders. There's some expensive planers. Stanley is a good name. If they're in a box, they're usually better. It just depends on the item. There's no specifics. Every brand has a couple items that are worth some good money, I can tell you. Calipers and micrometers I always sell very well, though. That's one item I guess you could say that are always good items. Even the cheapo ones you can get 15, 20 bucks for as well, too. I think we're going to have to cut it off here. It's after 9. Yeah, we're gonna cut it off here. The wife's still up there with the dogs. My other son just came in the house, so she's up with my eldest son. So she probably won't be back down. But we're gonna cut it off now. Sorry I didn't get to every question again. I try to answer every question. I don't bounce around. I don't just take my favorites. I start from top to bottom. I try to get to them all. There's very rare occasions when I get to everyone, but again, I do honestly try. People come on to get their question answered, so I try to get to all those questions. So again, I appreciate everybody coming on. I thank you all for all the support. If there's something else you need, I got Instagram page now. I've got Facebook. We're on Patreon. I've got another video going up on Patreon tomorrow. My Patreon page is basically just more content, but more specifics. I name names and I call out brands and things like that in there. I've got some how-tos. I've got some repair videos coming up and things like that. But I appreciate everybody coming on. Thanks for your support. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button and have a great evening tonight.